There's a particular kind of suffering that has become epidemic in modern life. It's not the suffering of poverty, though many experience that too. It's not the suffering of physical illness, though that's real as well. It's something more subtle, more pervasive, and in many ways, more difficult to articulate. You wake up in the morning, and everything is technically fine. You have a job, maybe even a good one. You have relationships, responsibilities, routines. Your basic needs are met. By any objective standard, you should be okay. Yet there's this persistent feeling, a hollow sensation in your chest, a vague restlessness, a sense that something fundamental is missing. You scroll through social media and see everyone else seemingly living with purpose and passion. You read self-help books that tell you to find your passion or live your best life, and you think, but I don't even know what that means for me. You're not depressed exactly. You're not in crisis. You're just adrift, going through the motions, playing a role in a play whose script you never quite understood. Viktor Frankl had a name for this, the existential vacuum. Before we go further, you need to understand who Viktor Frankl was. He wasn't a comfortable academic theorizing from an ivory tower. He was a psychiatrist who survived Auschwitz and other Nazi concentration camps during World War II. Think about that for a moment. Frankl experienced some of the most extreme suffering imaginable. He watched people die daily from starvation, disease, brutality, and gas chambers. He lost his pregnant wife, his parents, and most of his family. He himself was reduced to a number, stripped of every possession, every dignity, facing death at any moment. And yet, in that hell, Frankl made an observation that would change psychology forever. He noticed that survival in the camps wasn't primarily determined by physical strength, youth, or health. Some of the strongest prisoners gave up and died, while some of the frailest found ways to endure. The difference, Frankl observed, was meaning. Those who had a why to live for, a person waiting for them, a task to complete, a calling to fulfill, found the strength to survive unimaginable circumstances. Those who lost their sense of meaning often lost their will to live. This wasn't abstract philosophy. This was empirical observation made in the most extreme laboratory of human experience imaginable. Here's what makes Frankl's insight so relevant to us today. If lack of meaning could be fatal in concentration camps, imagine what it does in conditions of abundance. We live in a time of unprecedented material comfort. Most of us have more food, shelter, safety, and options than any generation in human history. By every external measure, we should be the happiest humans who ever lived. Instead, we're experiencing epidemic levels of anxiety, depression, and what Frankl called the existential vacuum, a feeling of inner emptiness, a sense that life lacks meaning. Why? Frankl's answer was radical. When all our basic survival needs are met, when we're no longer struggling just to stay alive, the question of meaning becomes unavoidable. And many of us have no answer to that question. In previous generations, meaning was often provided externally, by religion, by tradition, by clear social roles and expectations. You were born into a community, a faith, a way of life, and your purpose was largely given to you. But modernity has dissolved many of these traditional meaning structures. We have more freedom than ever before. We can be anything, do anything, go anywhere. And, paradoxically, this abundance of choice can lead to paralysis and emptiness. Freedom, it turns out, is not enough. We need something to be free for. Frankl identified 3 primary ways that human beings find meaning in life. Understanding these can help us diagnose where our own sense of emptiness might be coming from. The first pathway is through creative work or action, bringing something into existence, contributing something to the world. This could be art, building something, solving problems, helping others. It's the meaning that comes from making a difference, from leaving something behind. Notice that this isn't about finding your passion in the conventional sense. Frankl wasn't suggesting you need to love every minute of your work. He was suggesting that work becomes meaningful when you can see it as contribution, as service to something beyond yourself. The second pathway is through experiencing something or someone, love, beauty, nature, truth. This is the meaning that comes from openness to the world, from deep connection with others, from being fully present to life's experiences. In our distracted, screen-addicted age, this pathway has become difficult for many. We're physically present, but mentally absent, scrolling through life rather than experiencing it. The capacity for deep experience, for awe, for connection, for presence, has atrophied. The third pathway, and perhaps the most profound, is through the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. When we can no longer change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. The meaning we make from our suffering, the person we become through it, the testimony we bear, this, Frankl argued, is perhaps the deepest source of meaning available to us. This last pathway is especially important because it means that no situation, no matter how desperate, is without potential meaning. Even when everything has been taken from us, we still have the freedom to choose our attitude, to decide what our suffering will mean. Here's where Frankl's insight diverges sharply from much contemporary self-help advice. The modern message is often, look within, find yourself, discover your authentic self. Frankl would say this is precisely backward. Meaning is not found by looking inward. It's found by looking outward, towards something or someone beyond yourself. It's found in self-transcendence, not self-absorption. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most alive, most fulfilled, most like your life mattered. Were you sitting alone, contemplating your authentic self? Or were you absorbed in something, a project, a conversation, a moment of connection, a challenge, that took you beyond yourself? The irony is that the more we focus on finding ourselves, the more lost we become. It's like trying to see your own eyes without a mirror. The self is not something you can grasp directly. It emerges, it reveals itself, in the act of reaching towards something beyond itself. This is why the advice to find your passion often fails. Passion isn't something you find by introspection. It's something that emerges when you engage with the world, when you commit to something, when you give yourself to something worthy of your devotion. Frankl made a statement that completely inverts how we usually think about life's meaning. Ultimately, man should not ask what the meaning of his life is, but rather must recognize that it is he who is asked. Read that again, because it's profound. We spend so much time asking, what's the point? What's the meaning of my life? As if life owes us an answer, as if there's some cosmic purpose written in the stars that we just need to discover. Frankl says it's the opposite. Life is asking you the question. Every day, every situation, every moment is asking, what will you make of this? How will you respond? What meaning will you create here? You're not a passive observer trying to decode life's hidden meaning. You're an active participant being called to create meaning through your choices, your actions, your attitude. This is simultaneously terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means the responsibility is yours. You can't blame fate or circumstance or the universe for failing to provide you with ready-made meaning. Liberating because it means you have agency. No matter your circumstances, you have the freedom and the responsibility to make meaning. How do you know if you're living in the existential vacuum? Frankl identified several telltale signs. A pervasive sense of boredom, even when you're busy. You're doing things, but nothing feels important or worth doing. A feeling of futility. What's the point? Becomes a constant refrain. Escape behaviors, excessive drinking, drugs, consumerism, entertainment addiction, anything to fill the void or distract from it. Conformism, just doing what everyone else does because you have no internal compass of your own. Aggression or depression. The meaninglessness either turns outward in hostility or inward in despair. Does any of this sound familiar? If so, you're not broken. You're not flawed. You're experiencing the natural consequence of living without a clear why. And here's the good news. Unlike many forms of suffering, this one has a solution. Not an easy solution, not a quick fix, but a genuine path forward. In the next chapter, we'll explore exactly how to discover, or more accurately, how to create your why. Not through navel-gazing or waiting for a revelation, but through concrete engagement with life as it is. You're not lost. You're standing at the threshold of the most important journey you can take, the journey toward meaningful existence. If this exploration into meaning and purpose resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. We're going deeper into what it truly means to live a life worth living. Most people approach the search for meaning by asking, "What is my purpose?" They wait for a thunderbolt of clarity, a sudden revelation, a cosmic sign that will tell them exactly what they're meant to do with their lives. They're waiting for their calling, and they wait, and wait. Years pass. The clarity never comes, and they conclude that they must be uniquely purposeless, that everyone else has found their calling while they remain adrift. Viktor Frankl would say you're asking the wrong question in the wrong way. The question isn't, "What is my one true purpose?" The question is, "What is life asking of me right now, in this specific situation?" Purpose isn't a single destination you discover and then coast toward for the rest of your life. It's a dynamic, evolving response to the changing demands and opportunities that life presents to you. Your meaning today might be raising your children well. Tomorrow, it might be completing a project at work. Next year, it might be caring for an aging parent. In 10 years, it might be something you can't even imagine right now. The search for one grand, unchanging purpose is a trap. It keeps you scanning the horizon for the big answer while missing the meaningful opportunities right in front of you. So how you actually discover your why? Frankl's approach was radically practical. Start by asking, what is needed? What task awaits me? What problem needs solving? Who need my help? Notice these aren't questions about your feelings. They're not, what do I feel passionate about? Or what makes me happy? They're questions about the world's demands. This is crucial. Meaning doesn't come from satisfying yourself. It comes from answering the call of a situation, from responding to a genuine need. Let me give you a concrete example. Say you're in a job you find boring and meaningless. The conventional self-help approach would be, find your passion, quit, and pursue your dreams. Frankl's approach would be different. He'd ask, is there anyone at your workplace who needs help? Is there any aspect of the work that serves others? Is there a problem you could solve? Can you bring more care and attention to what you're doing? You might discover that your boring job actually provides essential services to people. You might find that a colleague is struggling and could use your support. You might realize that doing your work excellently, even if it's not your passion, is a form of integrity and contribution. The meaning was there all along. You just weren't looking for it because you were too focused on your own satisfaction. Frankl suggested a practical framework for discovering meaning in any situation. Ask yourself these 3 questions. Not what can I get from it, but what can I contribute? This reorients you from consumer to creator, from taking to giving. Maybe you're stuck in traffic. What can you give? Patience. Calm. Maybe a smile to another frustrated driver. It's small, but it's something. It's a choice to be a source of peace rather than adding more stress to the world. Maybe you're in a difficult conversation. What can you give? Genuine listening. Understanding. Honesty. The difficult truth said with compassion. This question transforms every situation from something that happens to you into something you're actively participating in creating. Every situation, especially difficult ones, contains potential lessons. What is this teaching you about yourself, about others, about life? You lose your job. Devastating. But what do you learn? Perhaps about resilience. Perhaps about what you actually value. Perhaps about the fragility of identity based solely on career. Perhaps about the kindness of friends who show up when you're down. The learning doesn't make the pain go away, but it transforms the pain from meaningless suffering into meaningful growth. In any situation, you have the opportunity to embody your deepest values. If you value kindness, you can be kind even when others aren't. If you value truth, you can be honest even when it's costly. If you value courage, you can face fear rather than running from it. Your life becomes meaningful not when you achieve some grand external success, but when you consistently align your actions with what you believe matters most. This is what Frankl meant when he said that even in a concentration camp, a place designed to strip away all meaning and dignity, prisoners could find meaning by choosing their attitude, by helping others, by refusing to become like their oppressors. If meaning is possible there, it's possible anywhere. Here's the uncomfortable truth that Frankl forces us to confront. You are responsible for your life's meaning. Not your parents, not your boss, not society, not fate. You. This is the double edge of existential freedom. You can't blame anyone else for your meaninglessness, but you also don't need anyone else's permission to create meaning. Many people avoid this responsibility. It's easier to blame circumstances, to wait for conditions to be perfect, to complain that the world doesn't provide ready-made meaning. But Frankl, who survived literal hell, had no patience for this evasion. He'd seen people in the worst possible circumstances create meaning through their attitude and choices. He'd also seen people in comfortable circumstances waste their lives because they refused to take responsibility for making them meaningful. The question isn't whether your circumstances are ideal. The question is, what are you doing with the circumstances you have? One of the most liberating aspects of Frankl's approach is that it finds meaning in ordinary life, not just in extraordinary achievements. You don't need to cure cancer, write a masterpiece, or become famous to have a meaningful life. You need to bring full presence and care to whatever you're doing. Washing dishes can be meaningful if you're doing it as an act of care for your family. Filing paperwork can be meaningful if you recognize how it contributes to something larger. Having a difficult conversation can be meaningful if you approach it with honesty and compassion. The meaningfulness isn't in the task itself. It's in the attitude and intention you bring to it. This is radically different from the follow your passion narrative that dominates modern culture. That narrative suggests meaning only comes from doing what you love. Frankl's approach recognizes that meaning can be found in any situation when you bring the right orientation to it. This doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue work you find fulfilling. It means you don't have to wait until you find your dream job to have a meaningful life. You can start creating meaning right now, wherever you are. While Frankl emphasized that meaning is found in specific situations rather than one grand purpose, he also believed that each person has something unique to contribute, a mission that only they can fulfill. This isn't mystical. It's simply recognizing that your particular combination of experiences, skills, relationships, and circumstances creates opportunities that only you are positioned to respond to. No one else has your exact life situation. No one else has your specific relationships. No one else can be the parent, partner, friend, colleague, or neighbor that you can be to the specific people in your life. Your meaning isn't found in being someone else or doing what worked for someone else. It's found in fully inhabiting your unique life situation and responding to what it asks of you. So how do you live this? How do you actually practice finding meaning day by day? Here's a simple but profound exercise Frankl would recommend. At the end of each day, ask yourself these questions. What did I give today? What did I learn today? How did I embody what matters most to me today? Not every day will have impressive answers. Some days you'll realize you mostly just survived, and that's okay. Surviving is sometimes the meaning, showing up, enduring, not giving up. But over time, this daily practice trains you to look for meaning opportunities rather than waiting for meaning to appear fully formed. It shifts you from passive waiting to active creating. You begin to see that every interaction, every task, every challenge is asking something of you. And in responding to that question, you create the meaning of your life. In our final chapter, we'll explore what happens when you truly embrace this responsibility. How living with a clear why transforms not just how you feel, but how you face life's inevitable suffering and challenges. You're not lost. You're being called. The question is, will you answer? Frankl's most profound insight wasn't about avoiding suffering. It was about transforming it. He observed that suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds meaning. Think about a mother in labor. The pain is intense, perhaps the worst she'll ever experience. Yet she doesn't view it as meaningless suffering. It has a purpose, bringing her child into the world. The why transforms the experience entirely. This is the ultimate power of having a clear why. It doesn't eliminate life's difficulties, but it makes them bearable, even valuable. People without a why can survive. They get up, go through motions, check boxes, but they're not truly living. They're enduring. People with a why are different. They have direction. When obstacles appear, they find ways around them because the destination matters. When they're tired, they find reserves of energy because the mission is worth it. When they face setbacks, they persist because giving up isn't an option. Too much depends on them continuing. Your why doesn't make life easier. It makes life worth the difficulty. Frankl left us with one last challenge. What legacy of meaning will you leave? Not what accomplishments or possessions, but what meaning did you create with your existence? When your life is over, will people say you were present, that you cared, that you contributed? Will situations have been better because you were in them? Will people have been loved because you chose to love them? You're not lost. You've been living without asking what life is asking of you. Start asking. Start answering. Start creating the meaning that transforms existence from empty to essential. Your why is waiting, not out there to be found, but here to be created, in this moment, in this situation, through this choice.